for me personally, if I actually write things down, I'm more likely to stumble over what I want to say, so I just sort of make it up as I go along. And then you get up and you're in front of the microphone, and then your eye just catches Rick Baker, 7 times Oscar winner, sat right in front of you, and Michael Westmore over in the corner, and Kevin Henry in the back, and just this whole plethora of past nominees and past winners, and suddenly you start to get a bit nervous. So I kept it as brief as possible, really.
Nick, you've done this a few times. Give us an insight on your experience of that.
Well, yes, you are standing in front of an audience of people you're terrified of. I think I've done it 3-4 times, and the first time it was absolutely terrifying. You do just freeze up. I agree with Mark. I did write out a thing the very first time and realised that if you just sit there and read it, it doesn't sound like you mean it, it's just like you're reading it. And you want to sound like you know what you're talking about. And I found the best thing was to just have a piece of paper with just the key points on, which tends to be people you want to mention, processes that you think you ought to convey, anything that you think helps your cause, but keep it as vague as that. And because this time I was there with Amanda Knight and Lisa Tomlin, we did discuss ahead of time what we do, which boiled down to you talk and we will nod. And then eventually they did agree they would talk because they realised that there was a lot they wanted to say. But it is very nerve-wracking because you do find yourself going, if this works, my God, I could get an Oscar nomination out of this. And that sort of dawns on you about 3 minutes before you get up. And then you think, and I'm the one who could screw this up right now. And that, I think, was the thing that stuck in my mind. And in fact, the minute you've done it and you sit down, it's great. On the day, you don't know sort of which one's going to be up front or what's going to happen. And, I've done it once for being the first person up, and that's awful. It's great if somebody's been up and you sort of think, that's how they're doing it. Yeah, well, I'll do it that way as well then. So from that point of view, it's best not to be first.
David, tell us about when you were up for Pan's Labyrinth and coming. You also have the challenge that English is not your first language, although you speak English quite well. But you're coming and speaking about Pan. Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, I think in Pan's Labyrinth, it was our first time, and we were together with Monse, and we didn't want to write anything down that seems to us as them. It was not very natural. So we just write in the same model that we have those little papers from the desk, and we just write some things down to don't forget details, information. And when we were down there, and surrounded with all these people, I remember that Monse was starting to read the paper, but she cannot read it. And she passed it to me, look at the paper, I cannot read it. And afterwards, we talked together, you know what happened to me when you give me the paper? I cannot read the letters because they move. On the paper. It was the same. It was like you're in drugs. You cannot read that paper because you're so nervous. But I think that was one of the very good things that finally, I don't know, I don't remember what I said or what I did, but because you are in a trance, and it's like you're very, very high at that moment, that your adrenaline is so high. But when I sit down and everybody after was like, you did great, you're a showman. It's like, I don't remember what I did.
Good. Bjorn, I expressed for you as well, just 2 weeks ago, and never been there before in the process. How was that for you?
Well, when I arrived in LA, I was running through, all the names from my team, everybody who was involved in the project, and I tried to be, as informed as possible. And as soon as I went to the stage or, into the way, to the microphone, I forgot everything. And I thought about, okay, I might, getting back to my line, but it was even worse after a while. And but in the end, it was I think I, you know, got everything, most of the time, the important stuff across, and but it was nerve-wracking.
In Monty, when you were with Dave and you were doing it the first time, it was so cute because I knew you guys from here from Imats because you've been at almost every one of the London ones.
Yeah.
So I was probably one of the few people in the room that really knew you, which was darling to see that you guys are doing that. Tell us a little bit about from your time at the Big Op.
Yeah, well, as everybody said, it was quite horrible. And as David said, we tried to read the paper, but it was impossible. I started reading, and the letters really were moving. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to say now. And I tried to explain how we made our prosthetics and everything, and I did it so wrong because I wanted to start from the beginning, like all the process, and I start from the end, and then the beginning, and then like this, and finally I said, okay, I'm doing it very wrong, so I passed the microphone to David, so it was completely...
No, we did it really well.
Leonard, you're the MC of the Bake Off in there, and that's so you get to be the master of ceremonies and help people through this terrifying process each time. Tell us about the Bake Off. You got any words for us?
I've had the really great honor to